Hello, hope you're having a great week. Not all of us can afford Photoshop, I sure can't at the moment, so I'm going to show you how to use Procreate to take this and turn it into this. Just using some basic things in Procreate. Right, first things first is to take your original photograph, reference photograph, and copy it. That way if it all goes wrong, you got your original file and you can name it whatever you want. Go into the little magic wand and then click hue, saturation and brightness. If you press the little down bar, you can have layer or pencil. We'll stick to layer. And if you move the hue slider left to right, it will change the overall colour of the whole picture. I wanted a nighttime scene, so I shifted my colours more towards the blues and purples. Then you can move over to the brightness slider. Make it a little bit lighter, make it a little bit darker. Because I was going again for a nighttime scene, I chose to make it just a touch darker. And you can play with the saturation slider as well. I just made mine a little bit more saturated. If you go to the tab at the top again and this time click pencil, now you can change the hue of just a certain area depending on where you put your pencil. So I've changed the hue a little bit more towards pink because I didn't want these mushrooms to be green. That didn't really go with what I was looking for. I was looking for more like a pinky colour. So I played around with it a little bit, got the colour I wanted, and then I basically just filled in the bits that I wanted the hue to have changed to. It doesn't have to be very neat. This is just a reference photograph. This isn't like photo manipulation in Photoshop. It is just getting enough down so that you can use it for a reasonable reference photo. Now we've got the mushrooms the colour we want to, we're going to turn them into little street lights. So on a new layer with a white colour and a very soft airbrush, start dotting in very faint lights in the mushroom. Then go to the magic wand again, this time to bloom. Now at the top it says slide to adjust. So if you take your Apple pencil and just slide from left to right, you'll be able to up the percentage to make the bloom start. And then you can use the sliders at the bottom to increase the burn, so increase the brightness and severity of the light, and the size of the light, so how much it spreads from its original source. Now that we've added essentially fairy lamps into our fantasy scene, we now need to adjust the highlights a little bit, because the original reference photo didn't have highlights where now there should be some. So with the same white colour and a soft brush in a small size, start adding in the highlights where they should be, on the stem of the mushroom, around the base of the mushroom, and on some peaks that are nearby that the light may have caught against. Now that you've added your new light sources, we're going to change the blending mode on those layers. So take your bloom layer and the highlights layer and change both the blending modes to add. These are the same blending modes you would actually find in Photoshop, and the add one is what we're using because we're adding light. And with both those layers you can now play with the opacity of them, seeing what you like and choosing an opacity that gives you the effect that you're after. Now that we've added in our lamps, we now need to add in the shadows. Remember, this is a nighttime scene. So this time, selecting a colour that is not quite black, in this case I chose dark purple, and again a really soft brush, a large soft brush, I'm going to just go around the edges of the picture, almost like a vignette, so that all your focus is on the lamps that are in the middle of the image. Again, this is all on a new layer so that we can play with each layer independently. With the shadow layers, we want to change them to multiply, which darkens up the layers, and just keep adding layer upon layer of this soft brush dark purple, or whatever colour you've chosen, until you've got sort of the effect you're starting to look for. Once you've got it as dark as you like, again play with the opacity of that layer, just to see if it needs dulling down a little bit. With me this was a little bit too purple, so what I did is I went for a slightly darker blue and went back over the same vignette on the same layer. Now that the vignette around the edge of my piece is in place and all the focus is now on those fairy lamps in the middle, I'm now going to focus on adjusting the shadows inside of the piece. Remember, the original reference photo was taken in the daytime and the mushrooms weren't lamps, so the shadows aren't as dark or as harsh as they would be in a nighttime scene with this type of lighting. So I'm going to go in and in the valleys of the log underneath the branches that stick out, I'm going to make it darker so that there's greater contrast between the lights and the shadows, and it gives you that feeling of nighttime and magic and mystery. And again, don't forget you can change the opacity of this layer. So if it's a bit harsh, just bring down the opacity a bit. And that's it. That's how you can use Procreate to turn this daytime scene into this nighttime scene. And I really hope you all enjoyed the video. Please press that like button if you did indeed like my video. Subscribe if you want to see more from me in the future. And comment if you'd just like to have a chat. See you soon. Bye.